5 things you need to know about the Tribeca Seller and Buyer Guides. Number 1, reducing brightness and overlays. So you'll notice a lot of the images in this design have that darker feel to them, and that's achieved by doing 1 or 2 or both of the techniques I'm about to show you. So method number 1, if I use this as an example, I'm going to ungroup this for now just to show you that behind this image there's actually a dark shape that I've put behind the image, and that when we head up to the transparency tool and we reduce the transparency of the image, it will allow that dark color to fade through, and that gives it that moody look. So I've grouped this together for you because then when you pop in your own images, it will automatically adopt the transparency of that image and you don't have to worry about it. However, there are times, like in this example here, where when we pop in our own image, it becomes difficult to read the text. So in that case, what I would do is head up to Edit Photo, click Adjust, and then edit the brightness of the image itself, because then it still has, you can still see it very well, but it's just dark enough that the text will pop. So 2 tricks here to achieve that moodier look. 1, reduce the brightness of your image. 2, reduce the opacity. And if you see that you're reducing the opacity too much, meaning that it's fading completely into the background and you lose the crispness of the image and you can't really see it anymore, and that's not the effect you're going for, then the trick is to reduce the brightness of the photo itself. So we still want to see the photo. This is how much I want to see the photo. I'm really happy with it at around 87% transparency, but the text is very difficult to read. So edit photo, adjust, and then we can reduce the brightness, and that still allows the photo to shine through, but we're able to read the text as well. Number 2 is alternative layouts. So you'll see that there are, if you head to grid view, which is this button down here, you'll see that there are some pages that are labeled alt. And this just means it's an alternative layout depending on what you need. So for the bio, I provided 3 different layouts, one for a single realtor, and then another one for a team, and then another one again for a team that requires a little bit more of a description-based area. So you have 3 different layouts to choose from, and they're labeled alt. These alternative pages you will need to delete if you're not using them in order for this to print effectively, but I'll be talking about printing a bit later. So just keep that in mind, choose the layout that works for you, and then delete the rest or put them in a separate document so you can access them later. Number 3 is grid view, which we're in right now. It's a very, very helpful tool, especially for booklets like this, because it allows you to see the left and right pages and how it would look when printed like a magazine. So you'll see that I labeled left, right, and that's just to give you an idea when you're designing. You'll see it up here. When I zoom in, you'll see it that it says left and then right and left and right, and that'll help you visualize what you're doing while you're changing anything in the document to get an idea of how things are going to sit in your magazine when it's printed. But when you head to grid view, that's where you can really see, okay, so this next to this is how it's going to look like when it's printed. Great, fantastic, we're good to go. Another reason why I love grid view is to duplicate layouts. So let's say that there's content that's missing from this guide that you'd like to include. You have your own content that you need to include in this guide and it's not currently here. Well, what can you do? When you head to grid view, it'll give you a really good bird's eye view of the layouts of certain pages, and then you can go ahead and choose the layout that best fits. Doesn't have to fit perfectly, but best fits the content that you want to share. So if it's a checklist, you would duplicate one of the checklists. If it's one of these information pages, you can duplicate whichever one you think will match the amount of information that you have to share. So grid view is really great for seeing the layout of your document, how it's finally going to look before you head to print, and duplicating layouts for additional information. Number 4 is grouping items. So let's head to this page here, the timeline section. What you might notice is that you want to duplicate this page because you want to include many more steps than are listed here. Or you want to move things around, or you want to reduce the amount of steps. You feel like this is too overly complicated and you want less steps. That's great. But because everything is separated here, they're all individual pieces, it can be quite cumbersome to move things around. So what you want to do instead is with your mouse, select all of the items that you want to move in one go, and then hit this button right here, group. And what that will do is it's going to tell Canva that now this is one solid object and you can move it around with ease. This comes in handy with anything in this document, but I find it most useful with pages like this, where there's a lot of little pieces everywhere that can take a long time to move around and can be very frustrating if you don't know this little trick. So make sure that you're grouping items so that you can move them around with ease. Another page that it's really good for is this checklist page. So on the checklist page, you'll notice that there are these little dots here. Well, obviously, if you're going to change this, if you're going to use this checklist for something else entirely, or you need to move these points around, you know, this might not work for you the way that it's been laid out here. That's why you have complete control over these bullet points. All you need to do is hit ungroup, and then you can move them around on the line however you want. So this comes in really, really handy. Once you've moved everything around, you can then select and hit group, and it'll group everything together. And if you see that they're misaligned here, and if you see that once you've arranged the dots, they're misaligned, there's a really quick fix. Just select it all. Instead of hitting group, we're gonna head over here, align elements to the center. And you'll see that it just cleans everything up and makes all of those bullet points line up. This is a very important trick because you can drive yourself crazy trying to line everything up. So number 5 is print rules. So if you're gonna have this professionally printed, there are a few things to keep in mind. Number 1, we're gonna head back to grid view and we're gonna make sure that the right and left pages all work well together. And we're gonna make sure that when we click on any page, we're gonna head to File, View Settings, and then Show Print Bleed. And you'll see that there's a dotted line around the edge of the document, and that's where your printer is going to cut your document. So what you want to make sure is that every single image and all the important information is within this safety margin, but also you want to make sure the images bleed off of the edge. Otherwise, you're going to have a white line where the printer cut. And just remember that everything that's laid out here is laid out here very intentionally to print well. So try not to change things too much. And if you absolutely need to, just keep those rules in mind. You don't want this text to be too close to that dotted line. You run the risk of it being cut off, but you also run the risk of it looking not that great. You really do need some white space in your document for it to look clean and professional. Okay, we also have a couple bonus tips for you here. Bonus tip number 1 is in the Tribeca Seller's Guide, and it has to do with the graph on the commission page. This graph is created in Canva, so you can put all the percentages you want here. And if you click on the settings button and you show labels, you'll see that it puts the labels on the outside of the circle, which I didn't want aesthetically. So I manually put these percentages inside the circle, which is something you'll have to do as well if you change these. And then the legend is also created by me inside of Canva. So anytime, let's say that you head up here and then you change the color of your graph. Once you click this color, all the colors will change, and these need to change as well. But there's a really easy way to do this. So you're gonna click on the legend color, you're gonna head up to the color tool, you're gonna click on add a new color, you're gonna select this dropper, and then you're gonna select whatever color corresponds to the legend item. So easy peasy pumpkin squeezy. And bonus tip number 2 is also in the seller guide in the marketing section. This is a video if you have a digital version of this guide. So if you create a flip book, your audience will be able to play this video inside of that flip book. So it's up to you. If you want to just put a screenshot, you can absolutely put a screenshot. If you want to put a video, because you're only going to be showcasing this digitally, that's fine. You can do one or the other or both. It's completely up to you, but that's why there's a video in it right now for you if you decide that you want to showcase a video in a flipbook type thing. And that is it for the Tribeca Buyer and Seller Guide 5 tips plus 2 bonuses. I hope that you have as much fun using these guides as I did creating them. And if you need any help at all, you can always reach out to support@4thstreetcreative.com, and me or my team will jump in and help you navigate this template and answer all of your questions. Happy designing, my friend.